The autumn rain had been falling steadily for hours, turning the streets of Portland into rivers of reflected neon. Inside Marco's pizzeria, the warmth and chatter created a bubble of comfort against the dreary evening outside. But for 10-year-old Maya Chen, sitting alone at a corner booth, the restaurant might as well have been the loneliest place on earth. Maya's small hands trembled as she tried to wipe away the tears streaming down her cheeks. Her pizza sat untouched, growing cold. Just minutes earlier, she'd been standing at the counter, carefully signing her order to the teenager working the register. She'd practiced the words at home, making sure she had enough money counted out, determined to prove to her mom that she could handle things on her own. That's when they'd started. 3 boys from her middle school, 8th graders who seemed to find entertainment in cruelty, had been sitting in a nearby booth. When they recognized Maya and saw her signing, they'd begun their mockery. Exaggerated, flailing hand gestures. Cruel laughter. One of them had pulled out his phone and started recording, zooming in on Maya's face as the humiliation crashed over her like a wave. "Look at the dummy," one had shouted, loud enough for the whole restaurant to hear. "Can't even talk like a normal person." The other patrons had looked away uncomfortably. The teenager at the register had frozen, unsure what to do. And Maya had done the only thing she could. She'd grabbed her pizza, retreated to the farthest corner, and tried to disappear. Now she sat there, shoulders shaking with silent sobs, wondering why the world could be so needlessly harsh. She'd left her phone at home by accident, so she couldn't even text her mother. She was trapped, waiting for the bullies to leave first, terrified they'd follow her if she tried to walk home. The bell above the door chimed, then chimed again, and again. Maya looked up through tear-blurred eyes to see something impossible unfolding before her. One by one, motorcyclists were filing into the pizzeria, not the frightening, aggressive kind from movies, but an eclectic group wearing leather vests adorned with patches. Men and women of all ages, sizes, and backgrounds. Some had grey beards, others had tattoos covering their arms. A few wore bright bandanas, and one woman had a service dog walking calmly beside her. Within minutes, more than 30 bikers had filled Marco's pizzeria, their presence transforming the atmosphere completely. A woman with silver hair and kind eyes, her vest identified her as Roadrunner Rita, was the first to approach Maya's booth. She moved slowly, making sure Maya could see her coming. When she reached the table, she didn't speak. Instead, she began to sign. "Are you okay, sweetheart?" Maya's eyes widened. She quickly signed back, "You know ASL." Rita smiled and nodded. "My brother is deaf. I've been signing my whole life." She gestured to the growing crowd of bikers. "We're with the Guardians Motorcycle Club. We heard what happened." "You heard?" Maya signed, confused. "How?" A younger biker with a Portland Trail Blazers cap pulled out his phone. "Someone posted a video online about 30 minutes ago. 3 punks harassing a little girl at Marco's. The video got shared to our group page." He looked toward the 3 boys, who had gone very quiet and very pale. "We don't tolerate that kind of cowardice." The leader of the group, a bear of a man named Curtis, with a gentle smile, walked over to where the 3 bullies sat. They looked ready to bolt, but the exits were now strategically blocked by bikers who stood with their arms crossed, saying nothing, just watching. "You boys think it's funny to pick on someone smaller than you." Curtis's voice was calm, but it carried the weight of someone who'd seen real hardship, and had no patience for manufactured cruelty. "Think it makes you tough?" The boy with the phone stammered. It was just a joke." "No," Curtis interrupted. "A joke is something everyone laughs at. What you did was bullying. And you filmed it like some kind of trophy." He pulled up a chair and sat down, forcing them to meet his eyes. "Let me tell you what's going to happen. First, you're going to delete that video and any copies you sent to your friends. Then you're going to apologize to that young lady over there." "But she can't even," one of the boys started. "Can't even what?" Rita appeared beside Curtis, her expression hardening. "Can't hear your pathetic excuses." "Good. That means she won't have to waste her time listening to you try to justify being cruel." She signed as she spoke, making sure Maya could follow. "My brother graduated from Gallaudet University with honors. He's a software engineer who designs accessibility features that help millions of people. What exactly are you 3 planning to accomplish with your lives besides making a 10-year-old girl cry?" The silence in the pizzeria was deafening. One of the boys, his face flushed with shame, stood up first. He walked slowly over to Maya's booth, the eyes of dozens of bikers tracking his every move. He stopped a respectful distance away, and began signing, clumsily, clearly using a phone app he'd just downloaded, but making the effort. "I'm sorry. I was wrong. You didn't deserve that." The other 2 followed, their apologies equally halting but seemingly sincere. Maya watched them, her tears finally stopping. She didn't sign anything back, just nodded slightly. Rita had told her she didn't owe them anything, not even acknowledgement. After the boys had left, escorted out by two bikers who made sure they understood how lucky they were. The atmosphere in Marco's transformed entirely. The owner, Marco himself, emerged from the kitchen carrying several fresh pizzas, declaring loudly that dinner was on the house for his new favorite customers. The bikers pulled tables together, and suddenly Maya found herself at the center of an impromptu celebration. Rita sat beside her, translating the conversations and jokes that flew around the room. Other bikers showed her pictures of their families, their motorcycles, their journeys across the country. One veteran showed her his collection of patches from every state he'd visited. Another taught her the hand signals bikers use on the road, not ASL, but another kind of language built on trust and community. Curtis pulled up a chair across from Maya. Through Rita's interpretation, he told her, "You know what our club's motto is? Protect those who can't protect themselves. We've got members who are veterans, teachers, nurses, mechanics, people from all walks of life. What brings us together isn't the motorcycles. It's the belief that everyone deserves dignity and respect." Maya signed back, "Why did you all come? You don't even know me." "That's exactly why we came," Curtis replied, and Rita's hands moved gracefully as she interpreted. "Because when you see someone being hurt, you don't ask if you know them. You don't calculate whether it's convenient. You just act. That's what community means." As the evening wore on, more bikers from the Guardian's chapter arrived after seeing the social media posts. Some brought flowers. Others brought stuffed animals. One woman, a teacher herself, brought a children's book about a deaf superhero. The restaurant buzzed with warmth and laughter, a stark contrast to the loneliness Maya had felt just an hour before. When Maya's mother, Linda, finally arrived after getting an urgent call from Marco, she stopped in the doorway, stunned by the scene before her. Her daughter was sitting at a table surrounded by leather-clad bikers, laughing at something Rita was signing, her earlier tears completely forgotten. Rita stood to greet Linda, immediately switching to sign language as she explained what had happened. Linda's expression cycled through shock, gratitude, and finally tears of her own as she realized her daughter had found unexpected champions. "I don't know how to thank you," Linda signed, her hands shaking with emotion. "No thanks needed," Curtis replied through Rita's interpretation. "Just remember this night, when you see someone else who needs help, pass it forward. That's how we change the world, one person deciding to stand up at a time." Before they left, the Guardians presented Maya with a custom leather vest, child-sized, with patches representing courage and resilience. On the back, they'd added a special patch that read, "Honorary Guardian." "You've got dozens of big brothers and sisters now," Rita signed to Maya. "If anyone ever bothers you again, you call us. We'll be there." That night, as Linda tucked Maya into bed, her daughter signed, "Mom, I was so scared. I thought everyone had just decided to ignore what was happening." Linda brushed Maya's hair back from her forehead. "But they didn't ignore it, did they? The world has more good people than bad ones, sweetheart. Today you met some of them. Will I see them again?" "I have a feeling," Linda signed with a smile, "that you've made friends for life." 3 weeks later, the Guardians invited Maya and Linda to their monthly community ride, a charity event supporting children with disabilities. Maya rode in a sidecar attached to Rita's motorcycle, her new vest proudly displayed, waving at everyone they passed. The video that the bullies had filmed never went viral, the Guardians had made sure of that. But a different video did, footage from the pizzeria showing dozens of bikers surrounding a little girl, not with intimidation, but with protection, not with pity, but with respect. That video was shared millions of times, inspiring similar groups around the country to watch for those who needed defending. The 3 boys who'd harassed Maya faced consequences at school, but more importantly, they'd started attending ASL classes at the community center, partly as punishment, partly, their parents hoped, as education. The video had shown them something they couldn't unsee, their own cruelty, reflected in the eyes of people who'd chosen to be better. As for Maya, she kept her vest hanging prominently in her room. On difficult days, when the world seemed cold or unfair, she'd look at those patches and remember, somewhere out there, dozens of people wearing leather and riding motorcycles would drop everything to make sure she was safe. She wasn't alone. She'd never been alone. She just needed to wait for the rumble of engines to remind her that heroes don't always look the way you expect. Sometimes they arrive on 2 wheels, wearing worn leather, carrying decades of road dust and hard-won wisdom. Sometimes they speak with their hands instead of their voices. Sometimes they don't need to know you to know you're worth defending, and sometimes, when a little girl sits crying in a corner, feeling invisible and powerless, the universe sends 40 guardians to prove her wrong.